Welcome back, everybody, to the Prime Championship Circuit. My name is Rdawggg with the Triple G, and I am joined by Spuds the Tuber and Trix. And, we are watching the series between Dirty Lake and the Boys versus Rdawggg. But now we're going into Game 2. Let's go ahead and go to the draft. Thinking about this game number 2, are they going to sweep or are they going to give up Game 2 to Rdawggg? Is Dirty Lake and the Boys going to win? Who will secure a spot in the finals to take part in that prize pool? Spuds, you mentioned that Decker is usually a ban. Do you think that we're going to see another Decker ban, or do you think one of these teams will secure her?
I think they should ban Rampage instead. I feel like he felt very oppressive in that match. The teams could barely walk around his big ass body.
Yeah, he did. Grady made a lot of plays actually with Rampage, but now we're seeing Belka ban from Dirty Lake and the Boys. And then also again the Muriel ban. I'm gonna let Trix take over and sort of talk about what he sees on this draft sheet.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me to see two of the same bans come out. Like I talked about in the first game, though, I think maybe the Muriel ban is like just a potential throwaway to make sure that you can get 2 priority picks with your opponent having first pick. I like the Lieutenant Belka ban, like I said, for all the reasons before. She's pretty strong. I feel like maybe Dirty Lake and the Boys after that first game, they're in a bit of a predicament because I think Rdawggg. It's always tough when you make the first strike, right? Because you give your opponent time to adapt, and we see Rdawggg adapting. We see Dirty Lake and the Boys keeping it up with the same pick. That Rampage coming out first pick. I'm interested to see what Rdawggg counter picks because obviously their game plan from game 1 didn't work. They have to make a change. I don't know what that change is going to be because it was so cut and clear.
Yeah, and Spuds, you talked about they should ban Rampage, but they are allowing Grady to take that Rampage pick on the jungle. Tell me about what you're seeing on the draft right now.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like Rampage was a lot of the setup and there was a lot of follow-up with the Decker and Cage and all that behind it. And I feel like that's probably where they should have gone for the targeted ban instead of going with what they went with. And that's all I got for now.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Rdawggg pick and Akira pick over on Team Rdawggg, and followed up by the Decker and the Gideon. So, Rdawggg, Team Rdawggg, we still don't know if they're going to stick with it, but Pinzo on the off lane potentially, or maybe he'll switch with Tekken. Do you suggest that they should stick with these roles, Trix, or do you think that they should switch back to what they're used to?
I think that they should switch roles. So far, I hate this draft from Rdawggg, personally. The definition of an insanity, right, is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Rdawggg has been down this road before. This is the exact same draft so far. If they pick the Richter Narbash, I don't know what I'm going to do.
No. Okay, so as we speak, Richter and Narbash gets locked in, and we hear the frustration from Trix's tone of voice. Spuds, what does Rdawggg need to do? They're picking the same characters again, or the same heroes.
I have absolutely no idea what they could do right now. It just looks like we're going into the same match. It's just going to be another repeat. Maybe they have a different plan this time. Maybe Tekken and Pinzo have swapped roles again. Maybe Richter's going off lane or something. I have no idea what's happening right now. This looks like almost the exact same pick on Rdawgg's side.
Yeah, a little bit different though. Instead of Shinbi, we're seeing a Fang Mao, and then of course we're seeing the Murdoch pick from Dirty Lake and the Boys. Do you think it's going to be so it is for sure going to be a Fang Mao off lane? And if this is going to be and we know it's going to be a Rdawggg, so Rdawggg versus Fang Mao, what do you think, Trix?
Personally, I like the Shinbi pick. Maybe the Dirty Lake and the Boys just felt like they weren't able to put enough pressure on the map, but I like having the split damage types. I don't like having the Fang Mao because it prioritizes the enemy team to build armor, which is going to reduce the effectiveness of the Rampage. We saw that he was getting a lot of mileage off of diving the backline, and the Murdoch was doing a lot of damage too. incentivizing the enemy team to build more armor into Murdock when we know that Lakinator is such an effective carry, I feel like is kind of a misstep. Like you saw game one, how it went with your comp. You see 90% of the same draft. I think that at this point, you should just keep it going, but I don't know. We'll see.
And now we've got a different pick this time. So Team Rogue locking in Morgesh. With the previous game, they had Faye, but now they've got Morgesh. Spuds?
That's going to definitely be a mid-game Morgesh. And I don't know what she's supposed to be able to do against Gideon. I feel like he has the range and everything, the better team fight potential here. I honestly don't see this going for Rogue in any way.
Yeah, it's so you're thinking that this draft alone, that it's going to be Dirty Lake and the boys again with the clean sweep. Any other like remarks or last thoughts going into this draft, Trix?
You know, I'm with Spuds. I'm not sure what the Morgesh is supposed to do. Trading it out or trading the Faye out for the Morgesh, you know, you're trading out the hard CC of that big fly trap. Maybe they felt like they weren't getting enough mileage. Morgesh a little bit more mobile with her move speed buffs. Maybe they feel like they could compete over objectives a little more because she does output crazy damage. You know, everybody's been hit by the beehive. It ticks down for what feels like an eternity. It does a lot of damage, you know, so there is that. But I feel like the strength of their last comp was their team fighting, and they just didn't have a good team fight. There was only really like 2 or 3 big ones, and they didn't go that way. So maybe this is what they feel like is the adaptation they need to make. But I personally, if I was their coach or, you know, in the draft, I would be saying like, this isn't it.
This isn't it, he says. Any other last thoughts, Spuds?
Now I'm ready to get into this match and watch it all fall apart again.
And let's go watch this all fall apart. Geronimo Jack and SpookyMars, take it away.
You'll get there.
As I was trying to say, so we talked about the definition of insanity a few times, but we haven't talked about the strategy of banging your head against a brick wall until it falls over. If your head's thick enough and you're stubborn enough, you can win, although the concussion is going to be quite problematic. And I think that's what Rogue is going for this time around.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slightly different stance from the rest here. What this draft signals to me from Rogue is confidence. Confidence in themselves, confidence in their ability to play, and confidence that what happened in game one is an anomaly. That's not how their games are typically going to go. They made some early mistakes. They didn't respect the draft from D-Lab quite well enough, and they're simply going to go into it, run what they know they can execute on, and they're simply going to do it better this time, and they're going to match D-Lab. That's what is exuding from Rogue for me right now. And I agree with that. What happened in game one was a bad early. They allowed Haru on this Kira to be ganked multiple times and fall behind, and therefore he was not able to be the late game menace that we know this Kira can be. So what do they do here in game two? They're going to facilitate it just a little bit more. Yes, it is still a little bit strange to see the role swap from Pinzo and Tekken, but I can't imagine that this is something they just showed up to today and said, you know what? Let's put you guys at different ends of the map this time. This is something they've been practicing. This is something they've worked on. There's a strategy here, and it simply didn't execute fully in game one.
Well, I'm glad that you have confidence in their confidence. And another thing is in chat, Blood Mortius has confidence in your confidence in their confidence. But I would have thought that with picking the same draft, they would have swapped the roles back up and put Tekken Kid back in the off lane and Pinzo back in support. That's not even the case there. So really, I'm just kind of wondering why they would pick the same draft over and over again, especially when they saw D-Lab pick the same draft again, and then no one's really adjusted to this. The only really adjustment is Feng Mao and Morgesh, which arguably, like the desk has said, has been subpar adjustments on both sides of the map. But, you know, we'll see how it plays out, because Feng Mao does have a bit of an early game advantage for the first few levels against Sevarog, especially now with all these nerfs coming through. Curious to see how it plays out, but I'm still favoring my advantage to D-Lab instead of, you know, what is our current front runners are for the PCC.
You know, I'm not sure if I could say I'm going Rogue by favoring the first seed, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going Rogue. I'm going against the grain. I'm putting my stock into Rogue on this one. Now, I will say, this Fang Mao switch up for D-Lab, I do kind of like it because it has a lot of chase down potential. Kira is one of the
chase down potential.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's going to be a kill. It's going to be Nitro and Grady picking it up again. Murky Waters and the lads, the first blood on the board. Let's go.
Good start for D-Lab. They're showing that they're keeping the momentum strong. And you touched on it, right? This Fang Mao does have a little bit of a better early game than this Sevarog. Early on, Nitro's just going to have an advantage. We saw that throughout all of game one. And if I am Rogue, that is a little bit concerning to me because that is exactly what allowed D-Lab to get into the point where they were just taking control of the map. If I'm Rogue, they need to be willing to put their eggs in some kind of basket here. We didn't see them in any basket in game one. It doesn't have to all be in duo lane. It doesn't have to all be on that off lane. But they have to be willing to make some aggressive plays somewhere on this map. We didn't see a ton of ganks coming out in game one. And I can understand if they don't want to put too much emphasis on ganking this duo lane. Haru and Kira, not the best early game, but you have to do something. And game one has shown that it's a necessity because if they don't, D-Lab will.
You talking about putting eggs in a basket? Last game, Rogue playing the game like a pigeon builds its nest. And if you don't know the answer to that one, I highly recommend you Google it because it is a very sad state of affairs.
I don't have time to Google that. I'm casting, man.
Like a pigeon. Well, I'm a bird person, so we're gonna go on this because we have a little bit of time. A pigeon will lay its eggs beside a few sticks and call it a day, and not even sit near the egg. Like that is how a pigeon builds its nest, and that's roughly what Rogue did regarding eggs in baskets. So we'll see how it goes from here. Hopefully, it'll be a better time this time around. As it stands, we are seeing just Murky Water and the lads completely begin the same process that they had last time.
I heard it here first, folks. Half man, half Geronimo, half bird, all Jack. That's Geronimo Jack for you. But I do agree. I do see where you're coming from on that. Rogue has shown a little bit of hesitance in stepping forward and being proactive. And they have a very proactive team. Tekken Kid getting acted upon right now, forced all the way under that tower, healing.
But Blue Jay is coming around the back for the reaction, and he's gonna get the silence off on Toasty. We're waiting for the Riplash to come out, but there's the pull. It's not gonna be enough as Toasty's able to jump away. Level up coming out in favor of Team Rogue as the team continues to try and get whatever pressure they can. No trades there that time. However, that was a great reaction and a great counter gank. Well, the counter gank to the counter gank is Grady's there now with the rock stunning Blue Jay. And he's going to walk away, see if he can pick up any jungle inside Rogue's side of the map. And he's able to actually pick up the 4 camp with the Overlord. And that's going to be a nice clear to push him towards that extra bit of synergy he needs for the hunt stacks.
Overall, this ends up favoring D-Lab here. They were able to push Rogue back, force Tekken Kid out of the lane, forced a response from Blue Jay, did not give anything up in the meantime. If Rogue had been able to at least get a kill or at least a TKO, all right, now you're looking at something a little bit better. But the fact of the matter is, Blue Jay had to reset, Tekken Kid had to reset, and Grady goes into that jungle, double dips a little bit, takes some farm away from Rogue. It's not catastrophic by any means, but this is a much better look here.
That's a much better look as Appy gets silenced to go down, and there is Morigesh with the voodoo doll giant bee monster coming up and stabbing him in the forehead. Appy goes down, score now 1-1. And that could be the pressure that Rogue needs. They're being a lot more proactive this time around. That's something we like to see. No one wants to see the one-sided game, especially when you're the current leaders of the PCC, the current leaders of this tournament. You don't want people to walk all over you. You don't want to be the pigeon. You want to be the graceful eagle. Actually, eagles aren't that graceful, but
how about like a hawk?
A hawk. Hawks are pretty cool. We'll give people hawks.
And they pick people up. That's cool as hell. Anyway, pick people up much like Rogue just picked up the kill in the mid lane there. That's the segue for you on that one. We've talked a little bit about this Morgesh and about this Gideon, and Morgash not really being the favored pick in this particular mid lane. But it feels like Rogue's not really concerned about winning their lanes. I mean, look across the map here. Hara on the Kira, late game. Pinzo on the Sevarog, now mid to late game. Morgash, maybe not winning against the Gideon, but they have plenty of scaling. They have the team fight. And what I really think this Morgash is bringing is just the kill secure potential that Rogue really needs. We saw it in effect on that game. Rogue comes in. Okay, Appy Picker doesn't really care. He portals on out. Unfortunately, he's been marked already, so the ultimate is a guaranteed hit. He goes down. That's the value they have from Wangle right now. And they weren't able to do a whole lot of that in Game 1. Just having this additional secure ability in Game 2, I think, goes a long way in helping them win some of these fights. Now, the question is, can Wangle survive the fights when we start getting to the 4v4s, the 5-on-5s? Because that was consistently an issue in Game 1, just constantly being targeted out. Rdawggg and the boys, it's not going to be much of a difference from them on this one. They're still looking to pick those backliners off. This Feng Mao with the Execute excels in doing just that. Right on time, Rdawggg and the boys back on the Mini Prime.
And that's going to be Grady and Nitro alongside Appy Picker going in to secure the objective. Now, I believe this game's a lot closer than it is last time. River spawning as well. Perfect timing on when to do the objective coming out of D-Lab. And they're just going to walk away as Haru gets hit by the stun. Toasty doing a great job of dropping the Decker Cage on the engagement. But there's Blue Jay off in the corner. He does get hit. He throws at the Rip Laugh. It's not going to be enough. And he misses the skewer. That's a full-on whip coming out of Team Rogue. Now, if it's a Spuds chat, we'd type !whiff and we just add up to that counter of over 300 on that one. Unfortunately, not the case. Yeah, Spuds is a whiff counter in a stream, by the way. It's really fun to watch him add
potato, not to roast him like that.
Speaking, hey, he's the one who set it up, not me. Speaking of whiff, Blue Jay whiffs another Riplash as it comes out. And he's just trying to find something. They're trying to be more proactive this game, but I don't know how well that's actually going to go. If we can get the scoreboard up so we can take a look at builds and stats real quick, we are seeing a much tighter CS difference this time around, but it's starting to pull away in favor of D-Lab. The builds coming out are also kind of reflecting that as well. We are seeing Grady with a full Overlord, and we are not seeing that out of, well, Blue Jay just built his Fire Blossom. So there is, some advantage coming out. Grady now sitting here. He's around the corner, him and Toasty, just waiting to drop that CC once again. They're going to back off as the dual lane for Team Rogue is a little too far. Grady positioning himself in once again. Not too sure if the vision is there to act on it, but Appy Picker's now followed up for the rotate. They're just going to go to the Fang Tooth instead. They do have the advantage and the pressure. Lakenator now Toasty coming in and to follow up and do what they can to apply it. Tekken Kid and Morgash rotating in from each side, but it won't be enough. I believe they're going to have to give this one up and just walk away. It's not what they want to do. It's not the engagement they want to make. However, this could be the fight. No. They are going to back off, and they're going to probably look for a pick in mid lane if there's any possible, but nothing there.
Right now, Rogue is just kind of playing on the back foot. They're trying to bide their time. They're not trying not to force too much. They have to be careful. They can't afford to give up quite as much as they did in Game 1. You can see Tekken Kid keep an eye on Grady, not let him move through this jungle freely, and may dissuade Grady from trying to go for this blue buff invade. Good on Tekken Kid being in the area, but he's got some reinforcements here. Keep an eye out. There's a 3-man rotation over to this buff. Tekken Kid better get out of here before he gets engaged.
He's not where he wants to be right now. They're going to throw the thunk out as Appy Picker just portals away at the last possible second, and that's going to be engaged. Blue Jay able to secure his own blue buff. However, they're going to lose a 3-camp, I believe, to D-Lab as Toasty's applying a little bit of pressure. If anyone wants to talk about game strategies on Decker, I think that's also going to be Spuds' favorite thing to do. I don't know if anyone's had the chance to play against him. Spuds likes to annoy you far longer than anyone ever should. Grady now coming in. He's going to throw the rock. He actually gets pulled away by Blue Jay, so he can't follow up. Tekken Kid going to live with a little bit of health, but it's the long arm of the law to secure the kill. and put an end to Team Rogue in the duo lane. There's Appypicker now dashing in with the black hole, reaching up, grabbing the low-hanging fruit and picking it right off the tree. That's a double kill now for D-Lab.
It's a constant question for me of positioning and prioritization, right? Rogue has made some ganks across the map, a lot of them into that duo lane. Not ever really looking at the easy targets, always trying to find that hook onto the target that's furthest away. And then we see D-Lab come in, and they just pick someone. They're like, okay, can you hit a CC on that guy? Okay, we're all going for that easy target now. And what is Rogue's response here? We see four people all the way in this left duo lane. There's two from Rogue. There's the duo lane from Rogue there. Like, there has to be some kind of response. Wangle trying to make a rotation to this right side, but you've chosen the most mobile member of Dirty Lake of the Boys. Nitro simply dashes on out, and there's not much to be done about that.
And we should see the team start to begin. Lakeinator did go down just a second ago. The teams are going to begin to look at their backs now. They're trying to get in there. It's now 14 minutes in the game. No objectives up to take, so it's just really about farming, pushing, getting that wave management in, and setting up for the next few minutes. I think Rogue wants to get, we have a 60 CS difference, so it's not as, it's a lot tighter than it was before, but it's still, you know, like, there's room for improvement coming out of these teams. Is there any builds you would like to see improvements on? We have a Hexbound Bracer on Toasty right now as well, which is not as common as I see on Decker. I usually see the Dynamos and things like that.
Listen, when you're a game up and you're in the lead, you're winning your lane, sometimes you build more for fun than for pure efficiency right now. If you like the item and you've got some room to play around with right now, sure, like the boys have no issues with that. Right now, their execution is good enough that they can be a little bit looser with their builds. They don't have to be super strict. And I think it's really playing well into their entire playstyle so far. You can kind of see where they're just death swarming onto single targets. So, like, there's
doing it right now,
on this right side. And what is Rogue's response? They're not grabbing farm. They're not grabbing jungle objectives. They're not taking towers off the board. They're just kind of letting
things
boys wash over them. High tide, and boy howdy, the Blue Jay's been left to the wolves.
And that's Blue Jay going down as Riley Reed and the Pawn Stars pick up yet another kill. And that's the objective now spawning in the next 20 seconds. So they are able to grab possibly the next mini prime, maybe in the next 20 seconds, even get the Fangtooth right after that. It is their game to win once again. The score might be close, but the game is starting to pull away from itself.
Yeah, right now, Rogue just hasn't had a real response. If you're gonna run back the same draft, you have to be able to do. You have to be willing to do some things differently. This is not the difference I was hoping to see. That's at all. That's taking a page out of Blue Jay's book much earlier in the game. Tank is gonna go down pretty much for free on that one, or mini prime. I'm sorry, and the sport dead.
It's going to be
Fangtooth.
Yeah, it's going to be Fangtooth now. There's no other way to do it, as Lakeinator managed to get his tier 1 tower down. He's going to rotate in. Appypicker just in the back of the map, and Rogue coming out as well. We should see both teams rotate into the Fang Pit, and this is the one opportunity. When Spuds is talking about, you know, it's the moment the game can turn around, this is the one opportunity, I think, that Rogue has turned the game around. Nitro's really low on health, and Grady's not super healthy himself. They have an opportunity to take it away. They secure the buff, and they get away. Blue Jay now walking in. He sees Lakeinator. He's going to miss the hook as Grady picks up the rock. Notice nothing's happening. He's going to back up, pops the ultimate, throws it right on to Tekken Kid. Narbash absorbing the damage and the CC out of Rampage. It won't be enough as Wangle's looking to get a pick onto Appypicker, but his teammates in the jungle. Toasty needs to jump over that wall. If he has it, the hook comes out. Not enough to actually hit it. However, it's going to be Haru following up and able to secure a kill onto the Decker in that fight. While everything was happening, Appy did secure the kill onto Wangle in the mid lane. He's trying to get away now as Pinzo runs in, knocks him back. The portal pulls him forward, And Happy Picker now safe under the tower as Penzo just barely lives the health. Rock coming out from long range. There's the follow-up and the long arm of the law. Criminal Scum down. Wow. Everything they do just completely gets countered every second of the way.
It was good for Rogue at first. They got some pressure. They pushed Rdawggg and the boys away. Unfortunately, they weren't able to secure many kills there, and they kept chasing. They kept trying to look for a little bit more, and that's where things really started to go bad for them.
Now,
Happy Picker. No way! You're gonna miss it again, Blue Jay!
The mental of Team Rogue just not there today, as these constant small frustrations clearly piling up against them and affecting the next thing that happens every step of the way. Blue Jay doing such a good job early on, landing such amazing hooks, but this isn't it. This isn't Blue Jay on his best. This is Blue Jay on tilt. And I say that with love. Like, he's such a good player. He's really fun to be around and interact with. It's unfortunate seeing him not landing these abilities that I'm sure he feels comfortable or knows he can land.
It's one of those compounding issues, right? You know you can land it, and one misses. Okay, fine, whatever. I'll get him next time. Next time comes around and misses. Okay, well, now I'm getting a little bit annoyed. You just keep missing. Every single miss just compounds that frustration. I think Rogue just needs to take a step back, reel things in, because right now objectives are down. Fangtooth is gone. You're not getting it. Fine. This is your time where you just take a step back, gather yourselves, refocus on what needs to be done. Where do we go to pull back? And not
the enemy jungle. Second kid's gonna be picked off once again, having to flash away. Wangle there now, burning his movement speed ability just to try and get away, running towards the pit. The rock goes out, managed to miss at the last possible second, but Lakeinator and Appy are there to pick up the kill. Grady now having burned his entire ultimate. The Behemoth is down. He's walking across the map. There is still no jungle objectives on the map, so that is a nice little thing for Rogue to have to not to worry about as much, but they're just running in. They're looking for something. Harder there now, caught in the corner, not in the right spot at the moment. Tekken Kid is beside him, but it might not be enough if Rampage chooses to engage, ultimate or not. They're just in the spot they want to be for the whole map. Orb Prime has now come up, and I think they might be running straight to it. No, they're looking at Penzo, who's there. He's going to eat a rock to the head. It's going to miss in the last possible second. Appy trying to engage, dropping his own, and it's going to land, doing a nice little chunk of damage to the big Sevarog, who's not as tanky as he wants to be. They're not as far as ahead, and they're going to use that small advantage to clear out the Orb Prime pit. Blue Jay now walking in, getting rip-walkered by Toasty, losing entire health bar. He has to blink away, but he's caught inside the Decker cage as the big black hole comes through and secures yet another kill. That's exactly what they were looking for, and now it's going to be Orb Prime with a power play in favor of D-Lab once again. Rogue having to do so much to try and secure this if there's any chance at all.
So I will say, I think it's a little bit interesting, to say the least, that Rogue has chosen all these characters that just kind of run at the enemy. Narbash lands a stun, he runs at you. Richter, he's going to try to run at you. Well, they didn't ban the Decker, who simply puts walls up and says, you don't get to run at me, or you don't get to run away from me. There's nothing that Rogue can do to get away from this cage, and it's consistently the bane of their existence. Whether it's stopping all of their aggression or cutting off their retreat, they simply do not have an answer to Toasty on this Decker. He's at 4 assists, and honestly, I feel like that doesn't do justice to the amount of work he's actually put into this game so far. Rogue is consistently stepping up too far, putting themselves in position to be just caught off by this one singular ability, and they have to just recollect themselves. They have to pull back on this aggression. You're past the point where you can match them at an Orb Prime. You have to maybe let them sit on for a little bit, let them tank some of that damage, then go on to them. But now,
caught out once again, and he's going to do the skewer to just buy himself a little bit of time, but it's likely not going to be enough as Grady's ultimate's going down. Toasty coming up from the back just to try and do whatever, as the rest of his team is going to pile in and secure that kill. Blue Jay just not in the right position, and like you were saying, the draft and the ban was not it. You have to take away the rampage in the deck or the decker. You can't let them do anything about it. When you have a team that wants to just run at you, you don't let decker through, because decker's just going to be like, okay, I'm putting baby in the corner, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck inside this cage just waiting for it to end as you're just being picked off and poked out by the enemy team. And right now we're seeing a double push coming out of D-Lab as they're looking to take that last bit of the inhib tower. Grady almost getting caught by the tower itself, but they're going to do what they can to try and get a counter engage going once again. If there's an opportunity, it has to be right now. Nitro now dashing in under the tower as Lakeinator's trying to get up. There's a nice big black hole that just gets canceled from Aki Picker, and this is the fight that they're looking for, but I don't think it's it. They are able to take Grady out. However, they're losing 2 of their own members in retaliation for it. Benzo's getting a nice touch to get out onto the decker, and he's going to eat a big chunk of damage for Appy Picker, who is just chunking people with those rocks. Wangle now trying to get a little bit of a gap closer off with the move speed ability. Realizes he's taking a lot of damage from Lakeinator, and he's going to have to stop. He's going to just stop the bleed, go back and farm. I don't know. Like 5 minutes ago was the time for Rogue to possibly, you know, sit on the back foot and try and turtle up a little bit. But they've really spent the most of this game, from my perspective, just trying to turtle to begin with. And it hasn't really done anything for them.
It's weird, right? Because the macro gameplay is that they're trying to play passively and play patiently. But then you see the micro, and it's a lot of, okay, well, Blue Jay's going to run into them. They're going to just try to position aggressively, and it doesn't match up. It doesn't sync up with what the apparent game plan is. And maybe the game plan was always to be aggressive, and they just haven't been able to put that into practice. Either way, things are not gelling with the draft. And as Dirty Lake and the boys continuously scale upwards, taking more and more of the objectives, stripping towers off the map, stripping the orbs away, taking the Fang Teeth consistently, there's simply a window that Rogue is trying to climb their way through, and it's closing more and more. And they're at the point where they're trying to squirm one toe in so they can start pushing it back up. And frankly, it's just not working.
No, that window is closing straight on those feet. There's not much they're going to be able to do about it at this point, in my opinion. I believe the CS difference has gotten a wider gap. If we can get that pulled up real quick. Yes, we're now at 150 CS difference, and these are the differences that are just nails in a coffin sort of situation. If we're looking at leveling difference, there's going to be one there, even though we don't fully see it on the screen. Yeah, so if we look at a 2-level lead coming out of Lakeinator once again, in the mid lane, there's another level lead. In the jungle, there's a 2-level lead, and off lane is its own. So like when the enemy support is a higher level or the same level as your jungler, you know you're in for a bad time, and it's not the game you want to be playing right now.
I gotta tell you, when we have an MVP discussion, I want to be a part of that so bad right now. But
who do you think it would be this game?
I'm gonna save that comment for later. I'll tell you that right now. I don't want to put anyone on blast just yet here.
The MVP?
Drew Lake and the boys, though, it's their game to lose right now. You take a look across the map, and there's not a single person on that team that I could be saying is an overperformer. Everyone's simply firing on all cylinders. They're all on the same page. And we talked a little bit about the synergy that they have and how long they've been playing together. I really feel like that is being shown in full effect in this game. Drew Lake and the boys are just of one mind as they move across this map. That's why you're seeing so much deathballing from them, because they're just saying, okay, guys, we know how to execute these fights. We know how to just chain our CCs down. Let's just do it. Like, I'm not even scared for Toasty right now. I legitimately do not think he's in any danger.
No, Toasty did a great job there. He had the entire team ready to engage on him. He just dropped the cage and just walked away. 'Cause what else is he going to do? Lakenator and the rest of his team now rotating in to try and apply a little bit of counter pressure in the enemy jungle and try and just take it over. Setting up shop is going to be Grady jumping the enemy team. He's going to land it, but after the follow-up on the Decker stun, throwing it out. There's the big Decker ultimate, as well as Haru trying to do what he can to apply the damage off. It might be just enough. They are able to secure a kill onto Nitro after Narmatch goes down. There's Blue Jay landing the hook that he wants. Grady now low health, trying to walk away. He will be able to live. And Blue Jay finally going down. Haru now sitting there with Wangle beside him. It won't be enough as Appy's just dashing forward, popping off the shield on the Soul Bearer. Haru now just walking away. Toasty doing such an excellent job of applying the CC that he needs in these fights. That was such a great engagement we're seeing here on the replay. Just what are you going to do?
Lose the fight, apparently.
Lose the game,
the game on top of it. Dirty Lake and the boys clean it up in that particular replay. And Jack, you asked who the MVP is. And, you know, this might be a little mean. It might be a little bit mean, but I'm going to say it. It's Blue Jay. Blue Jay's the MVP.
For who?
Consistently missed every
For the other team?
Consistently missed all the skewers. He just did not have the game he was looking for. Wasn't able to really make an impact. And that's your jungler, man. If your jungler isn't able to make an impact on the ganks, isn't able to secure his own farm, there's not a lot he's going to be able to do in the game as a whole.
No, and that's definitely the case. And it's unfortunate that the game played out for our front runners the way they did, because they are still excellent players. Pinzo, Blue Jay, Wangle, all excellent players, and we're seeing that a Tekken Kid. Like, Tekken Kid is a solo queue monster. You can stick him anywhere. He's probably the best. Him and North are probably the best fill players in the entire game. You can throw them somewhere and they're just going to win anyways. Like, it doesn't really matter. I'm surprised, and I'd like to know the reasoning behind the choice of not swapping Tekken Kid back into the offlane and Pinzo into the support, because my understanding is Pinzo is usually the support player to begin with. So that's an interesting decision, especially when you pick the same draft. I figure you try and change something up a little more than you did, which they did do. They played the start of the game a little more aggressively. However, with that being said, it was just, I would have liked to see a little more out of what was done, or something a little different. However, you know, D-Lab rocked it. That's not something you're gonna really deal with very well, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, D-Lab comes in big. They have a massive upset, taking out the first seed, the front runners of the entire tournament. They're going to be the ones moving on to the finals. So we were talking like it's going to be an interesting finals. Well, I don't know how much more interesting than it gets than having an upset like this.
Yeah, that's been the case. We're going to throw it back to the desk so they can talk a little more about it. And thanks for tuning in, guys. This is it for me today. If you have a Prime sub, please, we could use the help, and that'll let us help you. I'm Geronimo Jack signing out, and I'm with SpookyMars.
Thanks, Geronimo Jack, and thank you, SpookyMars. Have a great rest of your day. What a sweep. 2-0, Dirty Lake and the boys in the soup kitchen, having fun in that red Prius. What a display of prowess, gameplay, and valor for those who got that joke because you watched the other guys. You know, congratulations to Lakenator, Appy, Nitro, Grady, and Toasty for moving forward to the finals. Trix, wow, what a game. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, what a game. It was definitely one of the games of all time. Jack wants to know what their thinking was in regards to some things. I want to know what their thinking was in regards to all things. Why did you draft the same thing twice? Why did you build some of the items that you built? Why did you have Tekken Kid and Pinzo swap? I'm curious. These are much like the pyramids. We may never know. So yeah, that's just the way it goes.
Mysteries in the universe, right? I guess we'll just never know. But anything else stood out to you, Trix, about that match?
I was taking some notes, you know, and then at some point I just kind of stopped and watched everything fall apart for Rogue. It looked like they were like maybe like gonna crawl their way back at some points, and then just anytime something went wrong, or anytime something went right, it immediately went wrong.
Yeah, it looked like there just wasn't enough damage coming through from them, and you know, their abilities just weren't connecting the way they wanted it to. Spuds, what was game 2 like, and what were your thoughts on about it?
I'm gonna go with what Trix was saying. I was taking notes at first, and then you kind of just saw everything falling apart. And part of me, I was just hyper focusing on what did the Morgish do? What did she actually do there to help the team in any way? I don't think she added anything. Here she had the sustain and higher burst, but her lane clear was worse, which means the Gideon was able to run around, do whatever he wanted. And the question is, what did the Morgish do? Can somebody tell me? Because I don't know why that pick went out. I feel like that's where they lost in the draft. That's where I think the game ended up for them. They just lost in the draft.
Yeah, it was just very unfortunate. I don't know, Spuds, what did the Morgish do? But I guess we'll just never know. Why did Pinzo, you know, not play support? Pinzo on that support role worked so well for them in that previous tournament, as well as Tekken Kid on that offlaner. We know he's such a good offlaner. Rdawggg saying that he is one of the best, you know, players that can fill, as well as North, but it just didn't work out for them, for Team Rogue. Any other thoughts or final remarks you want to talk about game 2, Spuds?
Rdawggg was wrong. It's 300 documented whiffs, meaning there's tons of undocumented ones going out there.
Yeah,
but no,
thousands.
I feel like Decker was MVP for that match, dissecting the team, making sure that nobody get in to do what they want.
Yeah, I think
that's pretty much everything I have left for it.
Really good job. I agree. What about you, Trix? Any other last final remarks?
Yeah, I mean, Rogue, they looked better in game 2 than they did in game 1. So maybe if, you know, it was a best of 21, you know, they could turn it around in the second half. But I think in a best of 3, they weren't adapting fast enough.
Yeah, and now they get to move forward. Dirty Lake and the boys get to move forward and go up against even worse timing. This is a series to watch. We finally have the finals coming up next. This is going to be really spicy. I am looking forward to see how Dirty Lake and the boys will continue to you know, like with this coming up, as well as see what even worse timing have up their sleeve. They have all the synergy. Both these teams have, you know, good macro and micro management, and they play well together as a team. So I'm looking forward to see what they've got for us. Spuds, are you looking forward for this next series?
Oh, absolutely. Both teams had such strong showings against the enemy teams that they were going up against, and I am just excited to get into this. I just want to be like, woo! Get into the next one.
Get into the next one. Yeah, feel the energy flowing through you. What about you, Trix?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. You know, Even Worse Timing had an incredible showing against the Professors. Everybody knows the Professors as a really great team. I think individually, though, I think a lot of the players on Dirty Lake and the boys are, you know, just a little bit better. And a couple of the players on Even Worse Timing are playing, you know, from across the pond, a little bit of lag associated. I'm interested to see how maybe some more mechanical players can take advantage of that.
All right, and now we are going to go ahead and have a break.